welcome on into Sidelines presented by Visit Potter Tioga. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's episode, we have coaches of football, of field hockey, of soccer, and we'll break down the week that was and the week that's coming. Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk Sprint football now as we have head coach John Evans joining me here at the desk. And Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Drew. Glad to be here.
So let's talk about this season so far. Kind of ups and downs a little bit on this season. A 2-1 record. Before we get into in-depth to this past week, what have been some of the things that have stood out here in this early part of the season for you?
Well, the fact that we're young. We make a lot of mistakes right now. We've got, I think I counted 50-some players that have never been on a college field before prior to Cornell. So we make a lot of freshman mistakes. Everything worked out well at Cornell. 10, we kind of made a ton of mistakes that we couldn't come back from. And then this past week, things went pretty well.
So this past week, you mentioned that young team on their first road trip too. What are some of the things that you guys have to do as a coaching staff, really the leaders, the upperclassmen that are on this team have to do really for a road trip to make sure everyone is on the same page mentally? Being on a bus for a long time, it can be a hard thing at times. What do you guys have to do in that, or what did you do in that?
Well, the first thing is to try to settle them down. So what we did is we drove to Bloomsburg and did a walkthrough and ate our lunch at Bloomsburg so we could get them off the bus, walk around a little bit, relax. In the midst of things, a freshman mistake, 2 freshmen forgot their pants. So that was a major crisis at Bloomsburg, but we solved it. But just settling them down, I think that was a lot of excitement on the road. They've never been on anything except a yellow school bus. So just to be on nicer buses and travel in that distance was, a little, and movies on the bus, and it's just settling the team down, getting them up and around. And we got there early enough where we could walk through at the stadium and just let them chill for a bit.
So going down to Chestnut Hill too, it's really also the first game, not only on the road, but the first game on grass that we've had this season. Does that change the game plan at all?
Well, it cuts down on your speed. I was surprised that they had mowed the grass, to be honest with you. I thought they let it get pretty high because of our speed. But the field was horrible. It was a lot of ruts. They practice on it. It's just not a great. I was more worried about injuries and turned ankles and knees, but fortunately we came out pretty good.
So let's get into the game, and let's talk about that defense, and specifically being able to get the interceptions and rattle the quarterback. What was the key there for our defensive backs to excel? Well,
the key was that they had some pretty good receivers. We weren't sure who was going to be their quarterback. The guy that quarterbacked weeks 1 and 2 did not start this week. So we kind of zeroed in on their receivers who are pretty good. And we got to the quarterback with the middle pressure with Chase Mosier and Marvin Zravix. We frazzled him a little bit, and he made some bad throws, and we just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
And then also, offensively, man, it's nice to have Sid Raymond.
Amen.
But what was the strategy going in there against this team? It was a really able to sustain long drives. There were sometimes, though, in the red zone they struggled. What did you see with red zone efficiency?
We got off to a slow start. Both teams actually got off to a slow start. And in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, we get down inside the 30 or 35 and we got a field goal kicker who, had a hard time kicking on grass, but actually did a pretty good job. But yeah, in the red zone, we just couldn't get our run game going. Our pass game was okay, but down in that tight, they're playing us pretty tight and man-to-man up there. So once we got the run game going and established some territory, we were able to move the ball. Once we scored, it kind of opened up for us quite a bit.
Speaking of run, the Sid Raymond touchdown run where he was sacked about 8 yards behind the line and somehow turned that into a 65-yard scamper. What did you see on that play? How in the world did this happen?
Right. My thoughts exactly. I thought we were, I always am a play or two ahead, and I'm thinking we're going to be in a second and very long situation. Next thing you know, I hear the crowd, and there he goes up the sideline. So he's an incredible young man, and they don't come around too often in a coach's lifetime. So we're blessed to have him here at Mansfield.
Also kind of a homecoming for him, too, from that area, and had a lot of family in the crowd, too. I'm sure that.
Yes, his family, high school coaches, there was quite a few people there to watch him. That was a very good outing for him. It was a complete game. He threw the ball well, he ran the ball well, he controlled the ball well. He just did an outstanding job.
So also, I mean, speaking of fans, too, there was a large contingent of Mansfield fans down there able to travel, and parents to watch their kids. Some alumni also in attendance. What does that mean to you to have that kind of support for this team?
Well, it's huge. We've always had a good following on the road, and that was extremely large this week. I mean, Chestnut Hill had a lot of fans too, so the stadium was pretty crowded. But it was nice to get there early and see our guys up in the stands already. I met some alumni I didn't even know who they were. They were from back in the 70s that just wanted to introduce themselves and had lived down there in the Philly area. So it's just a great experience, and winning the game out helps. And
as we continue to talk about how young this team and the growth of this team, to be in a pretty close game throughout the whole game and a tough battle, there were hard hits, there were a lot of just grittiness, so to speak, in that game. What will that do for the growth of this team moving forward?
Well, we're going to be in a war this week too. We go down to St. Thomas Aquinas Friday night, and they're the same. I mean, if you really shook us all up, we're the same. We're all blue collar teams that have the same kids. Stack has 3 or 4 kids that we had up here on recruiting trips, as did Chestnut Hill, and us with them also. So we're a lot like each other. And my thing going down there, the field is going to be nice. It's a very nice facility. It's just who makes the least mistakes. We definitely will be as prepared as we can be going down. So we just have to not make mistakes and do the best we can.
So who are the key players that you guys have to really kind of key in on for that team?
Well, they've got 2 receivers. Not tall, one's 5'6", the other's 5'8". They're catching a lot of balls, and their quarterback's putting up 400 or 500 yards a game in the air. So they're very respectable in the air. Their run game is not as strong as their pass game. So I expect our pass defense is going to get tested quickly and often this week.
Well, Coach, should be an exciting week for you, second road trip of the season, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. You'll notice students and employees wearing face masks that cover their nose and mouth in order to keep you safe. We ask that you do the same to protect your fellow Mounties. Face masks are required inside all campus buildings and should be worn when visiting locations outside of campus as well. Mounties, we're all in this together.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Sidelines, let's talk women's soccer as we have at the desk head coach John Shaffer. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me as always.
So an exciting week this past week at home. Let's start with that Millersville contest. A tough, hard-fought game, back and forth really the whole time. It felt like almost a heavyweight type fight. Little jabs every once in a while. Emily Smith gets the goal to give the team the lead. They do get an equalizer after some other chaos. What were your biggest takeaways from that contest?
Well, with losing the Shepherd match previously, or having it postponed, we had a whole week off since our Westchester match, which didn't really go well at Westchester. And so for a week, we just talked about team cohesion, positivity, working for each other, and sacrificing for each other. And I told them pregame, I can't analyze tactics, I can't analyze technical things until we play together. Give me 45 minutes of togetherness and fight. And that was the biggest takeaway. They were so together versus Millersville. They were organized defensively. They worked so hard. We created some chances. And I mean, without a little chaos near the end of the match, maybe we get the win. But I'm just so proud of how they've been working together. The chemistry is finally really getting there. So just really good vibes.
And how does that translate? Because that's a very important thing I think people don't really take into account. What is the translation you see from that team cohesion, team chemistry to on-the-field success?
Well, it's better communication on the field, better understanding of just if one player steps, another player drops, and they both don't get caught stepping because they're just on the same page more. And there's almost an unsaid ability to communicate, a nonverbal communication where they just sense each other moving, and they're really playing as one body out there, 11 as one moving around.
And then Saturday, a team with a single digit next to their name comes in Kutztown. That is a fun game back and forth. They get a goal in it, ultimately get that game 1-0, but there was a lot to like about Mansfield's performance in that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the stats and there's shots, but then there's shots on goal. I'm fine if we give up a lot of shots from 25, 30 yards out for the most part. They go wide or they go high or whatever they may be. Shots on goal, we limited them to, I think, 7 or 8 shots on goal. Faith played a great game and only had to make, I think, 4 or 5 saves. Same thing against Millersville. We limited them to very few shots on goal. Steph made the saves she needed to make. And we don't get as many shots on goal, but we might have 5 total shots and 3 might be on goal. So we don't get as many chances, but the chances we get are pretty decent. And watch the film back. We had chances in the second half to tie that match up, and it was a heck of a match.
Yeah, absolutely. How much confidence does it give? Obviously, you're not in the moral type victory situation, but the confidence to be able to hang with one of the best teams in the country and really have a chance to not only tie that game up, but really to compete that entire game against a high caliber opponent. How much confidence does that give you guys the rest of the way, and what do you have to do to instill that in your group?
Yeah, a lot of confidence. I mean, baby steps to building a program. I said in our first interview preseason that, Rome's not built overnight, and we have the recruits in, we have the depth, we have the quality, and now it's that step-by-step process to creating a championship quality team. The first step is being competitive, and the first step to being competitive is being hard to score on, being hard to play, being frustrating to play. And that's where we're at now. And we know we play in the PSAC. There are no easy matches. Whether you're number 4 in the country, Kutztown, or whether you're Shepherd, there's no easy matches. And so the confidence is the fact that we know we'll be in every match now. We have the ability, we have the organization, we have the work ethic, we have the commitment, the togetherness to be in every match. So now we can go into every match saying, all right, bring it on. Let's see where we're at.
I want to talk specifically, too, about the defense. And let's start with that defensive line back there that has been outstanding this season with Olivia Bowman, Meg Noon, Taylor Luckenbill, and Brittany Higgins back there. That group, what have you seen from those 4?
Yeah, I mean, and they've been phenomenal in terms of technical ability, technical defending. They're tough. The ability to head the ball out of the air, the ability to read each other and play together. The communication's been really good. And honestly, a shout out to the entire defensive unit, even the reserves, because the reserves, the Grace Long, the Catherine Simone, KK James, apologies if I forget anyone, but I mean, they bring it every day in training, and it's just this defensive squad that if the starters aren't bringing it every day in training and every day in the match, the reserves can slide in. And so it's just it's a group that has really dedicated themselves and taken pride in, we're going to be really tough to play, and we're going to frustrate the other team, and we're going to enjoy it. We're going to really enjoy it. And I mean, personally, as a defensive player and naturally a bit of a defensive coach, I take great joy in it. I take great joy in it and seeing their joy in how they're playing.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because all 4 have unique styles, too. Like you have the gritty gruff. I feel like gets beat up every match in Brittany Higgins. And then you have really a technically sound, kind of skilled at maneuvering the ball in Olivia Bowman, and that's on each side. It's very interesting there. Speaking of communication, and something that's different on the defensive side is you've had both goalies have a chance to play. Excuse me. You've had both goalies have a chance to play, and the communication from the defensive line and the keeper has to be so important. What have you seen from both of those goalies to keep that communication going?
Well, first off, Faith and Steph have just been phenomenal. They make my job really difficult. It's a great thing to have two outstanding goalkeepers, but it's also really difficult because we can't name a starter. And so every day it makes my hairline go back a bit. But communication-wise, first and foremost, you have to talk about talking. Before Kutztown's match, in the Friday training session, Faith and the defensive unit and myself, we just went away from the attackers. We let them do their shooting stuff, and we just sat and we talked. We said, all right, how can we clean up our communication? Are there any terms that Steph and Faith use differently? What do we think we need to communicate more? Should we communicate less? So we talk about talking to make sure that when we talk in a match, it's understood. And the connection has just been growing every match and every training session. And it's a compliment to both the goalkeepers and also the field players that we can swap goalies in and out, and they just keep doing their thing, and we're just as strong with either in net.
And looking forward at the mids and your forwards, the chemistry there is building with a very young unit up there. A lot of your returning players are on that defense, but a lot of newer players up front. What have you seen in their growth this season?
Yeah, we are so close. We are so close. We're one pass away. We're one decision away from, I think, getting more scoring opportunities. And that just comes with youth. And I know, like, I'm sure when they watch us, they're going to roll their eyes. They roll their eyes in training when I remind them we're a young team. But, yeah, we're starting freshmen and sophomores exclusively in the attacking line and in the midfield. And so they are learning game by game kind of, all right, how do we have to pass here? What runs do we have to make? And we're so close. So every day we just watch film back. We watch film a lot. We show them different ideas, and then we go out and train it. And so we're so close, but the thing I love is just their commitment and, again, their work ethic. They work so hard. They make the runs. They're brave, something I encourage them, be brave in the final third to go get shots. And we're just so close. And so I just keep reminding them that keep passing the ball, keep being brave, keep being creative, and you're going to get your goals.
And this week, 2 more road trips. Not too long of road trips here with Shippensburg and Lock Haven. What do you expect in these matches? Obviously, I don't want you to look past Wednesday, but with these 2 opponents, what are your expectations and what are the keys for these games?
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about wins and losses, and we don't talk about, this is a quote unquote game we expect to win. We talk about, the process. How do we want to play? So first and foremost, we want to continue to be organized defensively. We want to be tough to break down. And then we just want to be a little bit better with the ball. Can we keep the ball a little bit better when we do win it back? Can we make better choices in the final third when we're going to goal? If we do those things, I think we'll have a shot to get results. But it's the PSAC. And again, it doesn't matter if it's Kutztown, Shepherd. It doesn't matter where you're at in the rankings. Every match is difficult. Ship's been on fire with some big wins recently. Lock Haven has a very talented team. And so it's not a letdown week at all. In fact, it's a week of, all right, we need to take what we did last week and focus a little bit more, keep building. And if we just keep doing play to our standards, if we just play to our standards defensively and offensively, I think we'll have a chance to be in every match.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much for taking the time and stopping by.
Appreciate it.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. Please help us promote a safe campus by washing your hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer when soap and water are not available. Additional hand sanitizer stations are available throughout campus. Sanitation of high-touch areas around campus have been increased and advanced cleaning techniques have been implemented to limit the risk of transmission. Remember to disinfect personal items like cell phones, computers, and workspaces often. Mounties, we're all in this together.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk field hockey as we have head coach Brittany Hansrote joining me at the desk. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So a exciting and emotional week this past week. 3 games, including a back-to-back weekend home and long road trip. And let's talk about all of it. Let's start with Wednesday. Coming off a week where you faced some of the best teams in the country and we're struggling to get the offense going. An offensive explosion of 7 goals had to feel good.
Yeah, that game was so needed for our team in so many ways. Just like you had said, we were coming off of basically coming out of the gauntlet. I mean, we had faced 4 teams that are nationally ranked. So it was really difficult, and we have a young team. So having that game was pivotal in our season for us. And we needed that win. And not only did we get it, but we had the 7-0 win. And I think that was 7 different goal scorers. And it was so monumental for so many reasons for that team. And it was just like a really good momentum builder going right into then the weekend.
So the other interesting thing about that Mercyhurst game is this is the second time you saw that team. And it was a close battle that first go-round with that group. So to be able to come out on the home turf and really perform the way they did, what does that do for the confidence of a young team?
It does a lot. It did what you saw this weekend then, where we went up on ESU and we took them and battled them, and then we won the game the next day. So it just gave them that confidence back. Not that they ever lost it per se, but I think that they were in a boat of just coming off of 4 really tough losses. We held them, all those teams very well, but when you're young, it's just easy to get down on yourself.
Yep.
And so gaining that confidence and getting that momentum builder and sort of like the tide shift is what became so pivotal for us, and why I think in turn that weekend, or segueing into this past weekend, why we ended up playing as well as we did.
And I want to break down that ESU game as well, but last thing on that Mercyhurst, and you mentioned it, 7 different goal scorers in the 7 goals. Offensively, to be able to spread around the wealth, how important is that going forward?
Well, for me personally, that's important as a coach, especially with offensive corners. I don't just have one person that shoots the ball. Some other teams, that's their strategy and that's their choice. But for me personally, I like the fact that we have a diversified group, skill-based and just as far as the statistical categories go. And then I think it just gives confidence all the way around to the whole team to say, hey, we're not just relying on one player to do everything for us. Everybody's capable of scoring. Everybody's capable of doing something, including Hannah Meyer, who's on the back line and comes up to take shots. And she got her first goal, actually, against Mercyhurst. So everybody can contribute in one way or the other. Riley is contributing on the back line. She's leading our conference and up there in the top 3 of the nation, maybe the top spot now with defensive saves. So, I think the team is seeing that there's such a good team now. I think we hit that moment, and now it's just about growing still and just kind of keeping a good mentality, winning mentality, and the momentum going forward that, hey, we can take any team we play, and we could win any given day.
So that East Stroudsburg matchup, of course, kind of a homecoming for your assistant coach going against her team, and them having an assistant who is Christy Beyer. So kind of a emotional weekend, emotional game there. But in the game, an emotional game there as well, able to get up early. What was the key for the team to really get up early in that game?
We have been working heavily on 2 things, skill-based and mentality-based. First, mentality-based was we had been notorious to be coming out and then the other team scoring on us, or us just not scoring and then waiting to score and waiting to pick it up. So that was a big goal of ours, to score early, and so we did. We hit that mark, and that was something I mentioned at the end of the game. Skill-based, we had been working on cleanup in front of the cage, whether it be forwards, mids, and getting those rebounds after the initial shot. We had been working so hard on that, and that's exactly how we ended up scoring, was Sarah May got that rebound off and just slammed it home. So I think the 2 pieces came together nicely, and I think that we just had that, again, confidence to say, hey, we actually can take on any team. So they didn't go into the game scared or saying, young-minded. I think that they're just starting to really, like I said, they're turning that corner. That Mercyhurst game, they really turned the corner. And I think it just really showed in the weekend.
A heartbreak ending to that ESU game. You had a game then the very next day. What do you say to the team to try and, like, short-term memory and forget about the heartbreak and focus on the next game on a long road trip too?
So, well, what I did say after the game was we're segueing right into the next game the next day, and I just kept hitting home on that winning mentality. Like, the next morning, on Sunday morning, I messaged the team just reminders of, like, checklist, make sure what you have, and the one thing I threw in there was winning mentality, because it just holds so true. Like, don't let anything get you down, and the girls definitely had their heads held, down after the ESU game, because what we talked about was, and I had a grasp on that, I felt the same way, was frustration because we knew we could have had them. We did have them. And then there was things that were just outside of our control. We had one of our players go down in that game, and a couple other outside factors were going on for us, behind the scenes. And, they're frustrated because they knew they could have had it, but just things just didn't go the way we wanted them to. So I was glad to see that the team was not satisfied. But I said, guys, like, you got to keep your heads held high here. Like, you just took them. You scored first. Some milestones were hit. Segue into tomorrow, you got to have that winning mentality. Like, yeah, we can win any game. So tomorrow is the next game, and we're going to win. So that's where we just shifted our mentality into the next day.
That then game that against Lindenwood at a neutral site. So not only is really both teams are traveling, so you have not a true home field advantage. Does that play into the factor of strategizing for that game at all?
I wouldn't necessarily say in terms of who's home, away, neutral game. I mean, we were listed as the away team. The thing that we were very aware of was that Lindenwood had just played Kutztown the day before, and we had just played ESU. So we knew as a coaching staff that was evenly matched in terms of nobody had a rest day the day before. So I knew there was going to be some, like, a little bit of maybe some heavier legs, fatigue. So we just strategized about, doing our subbing rotation a little bit more frequent. But other than that, not really. I mean, Lindenwood is a team that does a lot of games on the road or neutral site. We had played them 2 years ago, actually, at Frostburg. So for us, it was just, in our minds, I guess, more so just an away game, in that regards, mentality-wise.
And two, with that game, in the game, got up early again, and then a comeback from the opposing team. But this time, the story went a little differently. Kaylin Duke, Sarah May Radel, that connection to send it into overtime. What did you see on that game tying goal?
The game tying?
The game tying goal.
Well, that was, boy, wow. We were really coming out of the ringer there because there was 10 cards given out in that game, and it was nuts. 5 in a row were to our team. Very controversial things. Young team. My big thing was you got to control the controllables, and you got to control yourself, and you got to stay focused. So here's what happened. I had Sarah May on the sideline, and I had to put a lot of weight on her shoulders, and I said, listen, you got to get a hold of the team out there. The young ones were just letting things get into their own heads, and then you could see they were just starting to shut down. I said, you got to get them. We got to channel our energy to score, not channel our energy to shut down and get frustrated about this, that, or the other thing, calls, not calls. She put the team on her back. She got player of the game yesterday, or on Sunday, and she went back on the field, and she took control of the players around her, and we physically, the tide shifted, and we got up the field, and we drew that corner. Kennedy drew the corner. I was telling her, just stay calm, stay focused, do your job, draw the corner. She did. The rest is history because Duke then inserted straight shot. I even said to the girls, I called the corner out. I said to her and our other striker, I said, I'll let you two choose. We have 2 options on this corner. You choose who wants to go. And Sarah May took control. She really took in what I said, and she's like, let's go. And she just snipered it home. So it was amazing. It was awesome. And it was like 3-point-whatever seconds left in the game. And I was like, let's go. It was so exciting.
And then, of course, you took that momentum into the overtime period. And that connection once again.
Yeah, and so I just knew in that moment, once we were going to overtime, I could just feel it. I'm like, let's go, we're winning, that's it, and that energy went right onto the girls. They felt it, they felt my confidence. They knew I was behind them, and Coach Hoover as well, and they went out there with confidence and did their jobs. And they stayed so controlled, and then Lindenwood got a card, or two. And then boom, we got the corner, and I was like, just slam it home. And we did. So it was great.
So you get that, just a full weekend. How do you address then the fatigue? Two back-to-back games. Yes, you had that at the start of the season, but a game coming up Wednesday, that's another long road trip in Slippery Rock. To control the fatigue getting ready for this week.
So today we're off, just the way the rules work for NCAA. So they have an off day today, which is really needed. And so, I addressed to them about staying hydrated, just fueling your body correctly, and resting. Make sure that you're, obviously they've schooled today, but we have no field hockey. So really take that time to just rest your mind, rest your body. Tomorrow we'll get right back out there on the field, and we'll be, preparing for Slippery Rock. And I think we'll be prepared, honestly. I think we will. We've turned the tables with our game fitness, and we're pretty locked in and focused, and I think we're going to be ready for them.
So that's a long road trip, and then this weekend, same thing. The last 3 games, or these next 2, and the last one you just had, those long road trips. Do you think that becomes easier for the team to really get focused on that because they've now done it a couple times? Or is that still something you have to kind of focus on of, all right, after the bus, we got to get up, we got to get energized, we got to get going?
I think it becomes easier because they start just to get used to that as it goes along, I'll say, and they're just used to the whole routine. We have a really good routine. We're very structured with the way we travel. So I think it's just like nothing new to them. It just becomes sort of something that they get used to. So I think that part's fine, and then they just sort of compartmentalize how the day goes. So yeah, that's fine. Then we get out on the field, plenty of time, we get warmed up. I mean, obviously home field advantage is different than away. And so yeah, that, I won't lie, that does make a difference. But I just think the way we prepare is we don't really think about that. We just focus on the game. Like we know what we're doing, we're on the road, this is what we do, A, B, C, D, get there, get ready, do our thing, show up, let's go. We prepared at home to play on the road, we're good.
All right, it should be an exciting weekend, and Coach, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me again.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. You'll notice students and employees wearing face masks that cover their nose and mouth in order to keep you safe. We ask that you do the same to protect your fellow Mounties. Face masks are required inside all campus buildings and should be worn when visiting locations outside of campus as well. Mounties, we're all in this together.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
And that's going to do it for this show, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.